welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day so far. I am so excited about today's video because it is my first impressions video, which is so weird to me that I've never done one on my channel before, but I've really been wanting to do more first impressions, more reviews for you guys, more wear tests, just anything that's really helpful when you're trying to decide whether or not to purchase a product, because I've really become obsessed with those videos. I feel like they just really help you decide whether or not you need to try a product or you can skip it. So I wanted to start bringing them to you guys. I've never really had the right lighting or the right setup to show you how a product actually applies and then wears throughout the day. So I kind of switched it around recently, and now that I do, I'm going to start filming more of them. So today's video is all about the Pure Cosmetics Bare It All 12-Hour 4-in-1 Skin Perfecting Foundation. I've heard good things about this, but I wanted to try it out for myself. I do have oily, sensitive, acne-prone skin. I struggle with redness, acne, I think I already said that, acne scarring, freckles, just like an uneven skin tone. So when I do wear makeup, I usually like a pretty full coverage look. I just like to even out my skin tone completely and cover over that redness and acne scarring. So I heard that this is a full coverage foundation, but I wanted to test it out myself. Okay, so this is supposed to be a high performance 12-hour demi matte foundation, which makes me really excited because I do want a full coverage foundation that's going to last throughout the day. It's supposed to cover up imperfections, even out your skin tone, and help the appearance of your skin over time. They say that it won't fade, crumble, or quit throughout the day, which are definitely important claims to me, and then it is made with some of their special ingredients, which I will put on the screen so you guys have more information if you are wondering. So the cost of this foundation is $39 for 1.5 fluid ounces, which I feel like is a pretty good price for a higher end foundation. Sometimes foundations come with less product and cost more. I feel like the packaging is nice. It doesn't really feel luxurious or higher end, but it comes in a convenient tube, so you're able to squeeze out the perfect amount of product, which is really important. You don't waste any of it, and you can really just get the right amount for your skin. So the foundation does come in 10 different shades. I'm actually wearing the lightest shade Porcelain. So if you have a very fair skin tone, there probably won't be one that matches you. I usually wear the lightest shade in foundation or the second lightest shade in foundation, and I did find a good match in this, which made me really excited. But if you have a very light or a very deep skin tone, I don't know you're going to be able to find something that works for you because there are only 10 shades. So hopefully they will release additional shades in the future. It is a newer foundation, so sometimes brands come out with a few shades to begin with and then they expand the line, so hopefully that's the case for this foundation in case you guys are interested. I did also receive the Pure Cosmetics Skin Perfecting Foundation Brush. This retails for $28 and it's supposed to give you a really beautiful flawless finish. I've never tried any brush like this. This is really similar to the Artiste brushes, at least the design of it, but like I said, I've never tried a brush like this, so I did try this on one side of my face and then my regular foundation brush on the other side. It is a soft synthetic brush, and they claim that it's supposed to give you a skin-like look, which I would agree with. I'll show you guys more info as I apply the foundation. I think those are all of the basics, so let's jump into it and I'll show you guys how the foundation applies and wears throughout the day. So I am just getting a little bit of a late start today. It is currently 12:35 in the afternoon, and I just had a little bit of extra free time, so I wanted to go ahead and film this video for you. I will make sure to keep the foundation on for a significant amount of time so you can see how it wears throughout the day as I do my check-ins, but I'm excited to film my very first impressions. So I personally do wear a primer every single time I wear foundation. I feel like it just makes every single foundation go on a little bit easier and stay in place a little bit longer, so I did want to use one with this foundation as well to give it a fair shot since I always use one. So my go-to primer combination of the moment is the Smashbox Photo Finish Primer Water. So I sprayed that all over my skin, and then once that dries, I use a very small amount of the Hourglass Veil Mineral Primer. So I'm almost out of this. I don't use anything significant where it would really change my opinion of the foundation. I just use a very small amount where I tend to get creasing or my foundation tends to wear off a little bit more quickly. Okay, so I just apply a very small amount on my face and then I just blend it in. So I like to go around my T-zone area. I do have oily skin, so my foundation does tend to wear off pretty quickly in my T-zone area. And then I like to go in this area of my forehead because I do have fine lines, so it tends to settle right there. And then I just go right around my chin area because again, that's where I tend to get really oily and my foundation tends to wear off. So I am going to be using the Pure Cosmetics Skin Perfecting Brush on the left side of my face. And then I'm going to go in with my e.l.f. Ultimate Blending Brush on the right side of my face because that is my go-to foundation brush. So normally I would use this brush, but I do want to try it out with this brush and see how it works. When I squeeze it onto my hand, it seems like it is a thicker foundation and it looks like it's going to be pretty full coverage. It's not moving around, it's not liquidy at all. So let me go in with the brush that I usually go for so I can really get a good idea at how it's going to apply to my skin. So I always just take a small amount on my finger and I actually blend it. I'm gonna do it right on my nose. I blend it onto my skin first and then I use the brush to blend it out. It does have a very slightly like citrusy fresh scent to it, so I'll see if I can still smell it once I blend it into my skin. So far so good. I just applied it right to my nose. I have a little bit of acne scarring right here and then a lot of like freckles down here. So we'll see how it actually, if it covers those or evens out my skin tone. It blends really nicely. It looks full coverage for sure. Yeah, it really just covered up that scar right there. And I like it because I'm a big fan of full coverage foundations, but a lot of times they're so matte, so they look just immediately dry on the skin. And even though I have oily skin and I do like a matte finish, I do like it to have a little bit of hydration and moisture to it so it blends out really beautifully and just looks like skin on your face. This one is blending out so beautifully. It doesn't look too heavy or cakey on the skin yet. Let me just keep blending it and see. Usually, even when I do use a full coverage foundation, I will go in with a concealer to just really spot conceal any dark scars like this one. But I feel like it's doing a pretty great job at evening it out. It seemed to be a really good match for my skin color too. So this is what it looks like with the foundation applied, just one layer. And then this is what my skin looks like without it. So far, I feel like it looks really nice. I'm actually going to go in with the Pure Cosmetics brush on this cheek and see how it applies. So I've never used any type of brush like this before. Like I haven't used the Artiste brushes, and I usually use my e.l.f. blending brush because it's affordable and it does a great job. So I don't even really know what to expect with this type of brush. I don't know if I'm doing it right. Okay. I think you're supposed to kind of massage it in rather than stipple it. I don't think I like the coverage doing this really as much. It blends it, like this looks more skin-like and this one actually does look like I have a little bit of foundation on, but it's definitely not as full coverage with this brush. Like I said, it does blend into the skin really beautifully. I already know I just don't prefer this brush at all. I definitely prefer my e.l.f. brush so I can get a more full coverage look because that's what I typically go for. But if you're looking for a more natural look, this might be the type of brush for you because it really blends it right into the skin. Okay, I know that was quick, but I already know just off the top of my head that I really prefer my e.l.f. blending brush. I feel like it just gives me a more full coverage look. But like I said, if you prefer a more natural look or a more skin-like finish, that brush might be a great option for you. I just haven't had a ton of experience with brushes like this, so I don't know that I'm like the best authority to give you guys a good opinion on it because I just prefer this brush when I apply my foundation. So let me go onto my chin because this is where I struggle with acne the most, so I do tend to have a little bit of scarring around the chin area. I really like this foundation so far, you guys. I have to say it does build up really nicely because I did apply the first layer with this brush and then I went in with the stippling brush and it doesn't look cakey on the skin. It really just looks really beautiful and skin-like in my opinion, but still really full coverage. I am using quite a bit of foundation. That's the only thing. So my forehead is where I feel like foundations tend to look the most unnatural on me because that is where I struggle with a very slight amount of dryness. So if it's going to look, I guess, cakey or settle into fine lines, I can usually tell around my forehead area. Okay guys, so this is what my skin looks like after I applied the foundation. It looks a little bit light on camera, but once I have all of my other makeup on, I think it will match me perfectly, but I will definitely let you guys know if it oxidizes throughout the day. Right now, I do think it is a perfect match for me. My face tends to look a little bit lighter once I first apply foundation, but I just prefer that because once I apply the rest of my makeup, I feel like it will just be the perfect match. I would say it is a matte finish, but it's more of like a demi-matte finish. It makes your skin look matte, but it leaves you with a very very subtle light luminosity. I wouldn't even say luminosity. It just makes it look like it's my skin. It looks hydrated, but it's still very matte looking, if that makes sense. You're not left with a sheen or like a pearlized finish. It looks really beautiful on the skin. I'm going to go apply the rest of my makeup and then I will check back in with you guys right after that. Okay guys, so I did finish the rest of my makeup. I went in with a little bit of the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer underneath my eyes just to conceal my dark circles and help blur my under eye wrinkles. I didn't go crazy with it, like super large triangles or a lot of highlighting, because I didn't want it to influence my opinion on the foundation. But I did apply a little bit, and I also applied a little bit right on the center of my nose because I have a pretty large freckle. So that's the only other extra coverage that I did. When I do a full coverage look, I usually like to cover that up just so the main focus can be on like my entire face and not just the center of my nose. So that's just personal preference. But otherwise, I didn't do any extra concealing. So any acne scars or freckles that were showing through after I applied the foundation should still be there, although it did a pretty good job at just evening out my skin tone completely, covering redness, covering freckles, and also going over scars. Like I have a pretty obvious scar right here and you really can't see it. So I'm really impressed by the coverage. I did go in with the Cover FX Perfect Setting Powder to set my entire face because I always set my foundation because I have very oily skin. So I wanted to be consistent with this foundation as well. The powder went on really beautifully. Sometimes powder can cake up on specific foundations, but it went on really beautifully and then everything blended so gorgeously on top of it. So I didn't have any problem with the foundation moving around or settling into fine lines, which is really important to me because I do have fine lines. Usually by this time, like right around my forehead area, the foundation will start to crease and you can still see them, but it's actually doing a really good job. I feel like it might be one of my favorites, and I know it's only like my first impression, but so far so good. So I will do a few check-ins with you guys throughout the day. My face starts to get oily after about 4 hours, so I think that's when I'll do my first check-in around 4:30 or 5 o'clock, and I will talk to you guys then. Okay guys, so it is 4:30, so it's been about 4 hours since I applied the foundation. That's usually when my skin starts to get a little bit oily, so I thought I would go ahead and do a check-in for you. So I am using a different camera and I'm standing in natural light so you can get a good idea at how the foundation looks on the skin. I'm getting a little up close and personal with you guys, but here's a look at what the foundation looks like right now. I'm actually surprised at how well it's holding up. I think the only part, or the only place where I'm getting oily is my nose area and then like the sides of my face right here. That's where I always get oily the fastest. And then sometimes the foundation will break down right around my forehead area and my chin area. It's actually holding up really well on my forehead and my chin. I'm only getting a little bit oily in the center of my face, so I'm really happy with how it looks so far. I do struggle with a little bit of texture on my skin, so you guys can probably see it in this light better than in my room with like the studio lights, but it does look really beautiful on the skin, at least in my opinion. I also tend to get oily like right in this area too. So otherwise, I feel like the foundation is holding up really well. I'm definitely happy with it. Okay guys, it has been about 6 hours at this point. It is currently 6:30 and my skin, or my face, is definitely getting oily, as you guys can see. So I have an oil blotting sheet. I thought I would go ahead, blot my face and see if the foundation stays in place or if it wears off. So I'm just going to take this on my nose and then right around the center of my face where I tend to get the most oily. I hope you guys can hear me okay because I was just covering my mouth. Okay, this is what my face looks like after I use that. Everything looks pretty good so far. I'm pretty happy with how it looks still. So I will do my final check-in with you guys in about 4 hours and show you how it holds up after about 10 hours total. Okay guys, I am here with my last update of the day. It is currently 10:56, so I've had the foundation on for a little bit over 10 hours. I feel like I could have gone the full 12 hours, but truthfully, I just want to go to bed. I'm really tired. I've been working all day long. So my skin is definitely looking oily at this point. I have very oily skin, but I have to say it held up pretty well. I blotted my face at 6:30. I haven't touched it since then. So this has been about 4 hours and it is the end of the night. But I do have to say really the only part of my face that really got oily today was the center of my face. That is usually where I'm the most oily, like this area. But sometimes I'll get oily in my forehead and my chin, and I actually didn't get too oily. The foundation did start to wear off a little bit, like right at my hairline. I'm sure you guys can see. And then a little bit on my chin. but I'm really surprised. It held up very well on my chin and like right around my smile lines area where it can tend to settle. It stayed in place. Also, my blush and bronzer are still there. They didn't really fade a whole lot. I used a pretty subtle blush bronzer combination. They did fade a little bit, but you can still see them. And sometimes by the end of the day, my blush and bronzer are completely gone. So those held up pretty well. My eyebrows are still in place. Sometimes those will kind of fade or smear, but everything looks pretty good. Again, it is very cold right now. I mean, it's March, but it still feels like winter. So in the warmer weather, I might have more trouble with it melting on me or my skin getting very oily. But as for now, for spring weather and milder weather, I think it is going to be my go-to. Okay, one negative that I did think of, I actually had to use quite a bit of this foundation now that I'm thinking back on it. I think I squeezed about a dime size amount on the back of my hand 3 times. So that is a good amount of foundation. I use a lot of foundation regularly, so it might be normal to some of you or it might be an excessive amount to some of you. I feel like that's probably a little bit more than, you know, the normal person would use. So I feel like I might go through this kind of quickly. I mean, I will definitely keep you guys posted in an empties video how long it takes me to use it, but I did have to use quite a bit. That being said, it's really personal preference, so if you don't need that full coverage look, then you'll be able to use less of this, or if you have like a smaller face, you'll be able to use a little bit less. So that is one downside that I thought of. And the shade range, there are only 10 shades. So those are my 2 negatives. As for positives, it goes on really beautifully. It wears beautifully throughout the day. It feels very lightweight on the skin. You do get 1.5 fluid ounces for $39, which I feel like is a good price for a higher end foundation. The packaging is convenient. It will be really easy to travel with if that's something that appeals to you. It didn't irritate my skin at all. It didn't oxidize. I just really enjoy this foundation. So I can't wait to keep wearing it. I will definitely keep you guys posted in my favorites video with any additional thoughts or my empties video. So stay tuned for those. Okay, that is the end of my very first impression foundation review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch, and definitely let me know in the comments below which product I should feature next in one of these videos. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.